This jackpot is mine. I cheered. It wasn't, and I walked out owing $18,900. My name is Benjamin. I write code for a living and used to pick up my daughter every weekend. 3 months ago, I had an apartment with real furniture and a savings account that wasn't empty. I thought I understood poker. I thought I knew my limits. That night started with $400 from selling my laptop, just enough to cover rent if I'd been smart. Instead, I sat down at a table where I'd won before. The cards looked perfect. My hand looked unbeatable. I called the bet with complete confidence, ready to solve all my problems with one play. Then I flipped my cards and realized I'd been staring at the wrong numbers the whole time. But here's what nobody tells you. Losing 18,000 wasn't the worst part. The worst part was walking to my car, knowing I had to text my little girl that daddy was sick and couldn't take her to breakfast. When you're absolutely certain you're holding a winning hand, what do you risk losing while you're busy counting money that isn't yours? I'm sitting at my kitchen table on a Tuesday afternoon, looking at a stack of bills that might as well be written in a foreign language. The numbers don't add up. They haven't added up in 2 months. The eviction notice sits on top. Bright yellow paper with my name, Benjamin Harrington, printed in bold letters like an accusation. 3 days to pay $5,600 or face legal action. Mrs. Rodriguez has been patient, but patience has a price, and I've reached it.my laptop hums on the table next to the bills. It's a gaming rig I built 3 years ago when contracts were steady and I could afford nice things. Now it's about to become $400 cash, sold to some college kid who answered my Craigslist ad point $400. That's what 3 years of savings and careful component selection comes down to. I should use it for groceries. The fridge has condiments and hope, not much else. I should pay the electric bill. The second notice came yesterday. I should do a lot of things that make sense. Instead, I'm thinking about Riverside Casino. It's a 20-minute drive from here. I know because I've made the trip every couple weeks for the past 2 years. Small stakes, strict limits, entertainment money only. That was my rule. $50 maximum, gone when it's gone. I was good at it. Disciplined. But $50 doesn't solve anything. For $100 I pull up my bank app. Checking account, $23.47. Savings, $0. Credit cards, maxed. The freelance world has been brutal lately. Contracts that looked solid vanished overnight. Clients who paid on time started paying late. Then not at all. My phone buzzes. Text from the laptop buyer. Running about 20 minutes late. That cool? 20 more minutes to think about this. 20 more minutes to change my mind. I text back. No problem. The casino has $1/$3 no limit hold'em on Tuesday nights. Low stakes, friendly game. I know the dealers, recognize the regulars. These aren't high rollers or card sharks. They're people like me, or like I used to be. People with day jobs and mortgages and kids they pick up on weekends. Speaking of which, Emma's school picture is stuck to my refrigerator with a magnet shaped like a butterfly. 7 years old, missing her front teeth, grinning like the world is full of good surprises. She stays with her mom, Sarah, most of the time, but weekends are mine. Remind that I haven't seen her in 2 weeks. Sarah called last Sunday. Emma keeps asking when daddy's coming to get her. Soon, I said. Work's been crazy. Ben, are you okay? You sound, I'm fine. Just busy. I wasn't fine. I'm not fine now. The laptop buyer texts again. Here in 5. I close my eyes and do the math. 400 at the casino could become 800. 800 could become 1600. It's possible. I've seen it happen. Done it myself on smaller scales. The doorbell rings. Riverside Casino sits off Highway 47 like a glowing promise in the evening darkness. The parking lot is half full on a Tuesday. Locals mostly, people who know the staff and remember drink orders. Not the weekend crowd with their vacation money and lucky shirts. I park under a light and check my phone. 3 missed calls from Sarah. She probably wants to finalize weekend plans with Emma. I'll call her later after I sort this out. The lobby smells like coffee and possibility. New carpet, fresh flowers at the reception desk, the gentle whoosh of central air keeping everything comfortable. It's designed to feel like a nice hotel, the kind of place where good things happen to good people. Benjamin. Jenny waves from behind the poker room desk. She's been dealing here for 3 years, remembers everyone's favorite seat and drink preference. Haven't seen you in a while. Work's been keeping me busy. I slide my driver's license across the desk. Any $1/$3 action tonight. Table 4 just opened. Tommy's dealing. You like him? I do like Tommy. He's fair, keeps the game moving, doesn't make small talk when you're thinking through a decision. Professional. Buy-in. I pull out 4 crisp hundreds. The laptop money. 400. Jenny counts it twice, slides a rack of chips across the felt. Red 5s, green 25s, a few black hundreds. They feel substantial in my hands, like actual value instead of borrowed time. Table 4 sits 6 players. I recognize 3 of them. Regulars who play steady, predictable poker. The kind of game where skill matters more than luck over time. Where someone who pays attention can make money. Seat 7 is open. It's a good spot, between 2 loose players who bet big with weak hands. I stack my chips in neat columns and settle in. Evening, Ben. Tommy shuffles a fresh deck with practiced efficiency. Blinds are 1 and 3. Game is no limit hold'em. First hand, Jack 10 offsuit. Easy fold. Second hand, Ace King suited. A premium starting hand. The action comes to me. The player in seat 2, a retiree named Frank who plays too many hands, raises to $10. Frank's been coming here longer than anyone. He's here for entertainment, not profit, which makes him profitable for everyone else that I call the 10. 2 other players call behind me. The flop comes Ace 9-4, rainbow suits. Top pair, King Kicker. A strong hand, but not invincible. Frank checks. I bet $15, about half the pot. Professional sizing, not too big, not too small. 1 fold. 1 call, Frank calls. The turn brings a 7. Still looks safe. Frank checks again. I bet $35. This time Frank folds, but the other player, a woman in her 40s I don't recognize, calls without hesitation. The river is a blank. Queen of hearts. She checks to me. I bet $60, about 2/3 of the pot. Standard value bet with top pair. She thinks for 30 seconds, then calls. I flip my ace king. She mucks her cards without showing. Nice hand. She says, the pot is mine. $156 in profit on my first real hand. Maybe this is what I needed. Clear thinking, good timing, profitable decisions. The kind of night that reminds me why I'm good at this. My phone buzzes with another text from Sarah, but I let it wait. Right now, everything is working exactly as it should. The dealer burns and deals the next hand. 2 hours in. I'm up $247. My chip stack has grown to $647. Organized in neat towers that catch the overhead light just right. The table has loosened up. More players, bigger pots, the kind of action that rewards patience and skill. But that's when he sits down. Seat 3, directly across from me. Carhartt work jacket over a plain t-shirt, maybe 45 years old, with calloused hands and serious eyes. He buys in for $2,000 without blinking. 20 black chips, each worth $100. The table energy shifts immediately. Players sit straighter, think longer before betting. $2,000 changes the math on everything. I study him during the first few hands. He plays tight, folds most hands without hesitation. When he does enter a pot, he bets with purpose. No fancy moves, no bluffs that make sense only to him. The kind of player who makes money over time. Dangerous point. 20 minutes later, I get dealt pocket kings in the cutoff position. 2 red kings, beautiful as sunrise. The best starting hand except pocket aces. Action folds around to the man in the Carhartt jacket. He raises to $15. Standard opening bet. I re-raise to 45. 3 times his bet, the size that says I have something real. Everyone else folds back to him. He thinks for 10 seconds, then calls. The flop comes King 7-6, rainbow suits. Set of kings. The third best possible hand in poker, beaten only by a set of 7s or a set of 6s. Both extremely unlikely. He checks to me. I bet $60, about half the pot. Perfect value bet sizing. Not too big to scare him off, not too small to miss profit. He calls without hesitation. The turn brings another 7. King 7-7-6. Now I have kings full of 7s, a full house. One of the strongest possible hands. He checks again. I bet $120. Big bet, but the pot justifies it. He thinks longer this time. Studies my face, counts his chips, rechecks his cards. Finally calls. The pot is now $495. My heart pounds steady and strong. The river brings the 7 of clubs. King 7-7-7-6. For 7s on the board. He checks one more time. I have kings full of 7s. The only hands that beat me are pocket sevens for four of a kind, or another seven in his hand for four sevens with a better kicker than my king. But what are the odds? I can see two sevens on the board. I'm holding two kings. For him to have pocket sevens, he would have needed to start with the exact two cards that make this a disaster for me. And if he had pocket sevens, would he have just called my turn bet? Wouldn't he have raised? The math works in my favor. The logic works in my favor. I bet $200. A big bet, but this pot is mine. He sits quietly for 30 seconds. Stacks and restacks his chips. Checks his cards one more time. Then he slides his entire chip stack forward. All in. The words hit like cold water. All in means I have to call $1,247 more to see his cards. Almost my entire bankroll, but I have a full house. Kings full of sevens. Tommy the dealer confirms the bet. $1,247 to call. I look at my cards again. King of hearts, king of spades. Seven of hearts, seven of diamonds, seven of clubs on the board. Kings full of sevens. This is it. This is the hand that solves everything. Rent money, bill money, breathing room money. All sitting right there in front of me. I count my chips. $647 total. Calling his all-in would put my last $647 in the pot. But I'd win $1,495 when he shows his bluff or his weaker full house. Then my hands shake slightly as I grab my chip stacks. Call. I push my chips forward and flip my cards face up. Full house, kings full of sevens. He turns over his cards without expression, pocket sevens. Seven of spades, seven of hearts, point four of a kind. The pot slides away from me like water down a drain. I sit there staring at the felt where my chips used to be, trying to understand what just happened. For sevens beats my full house. Mathematical certainty becomes mathematical impossibility in the space between one heartbeat and the next. Good game, he says quietly, stacking chips that used to be mine. But I'm already thinking about the ATM in the corner, the one that dispenses cash advances for a small fee. Because this wasn't bad luck. This was a technical error that needs correcting. The cards are shuffled for the next hand. The knock on my door comes at 9:23 a.m. on a Thursday. 3 sharp raps, official and unavoidable. Mrs. Rodriguez stands in the hallway holding a manila envelope that might as well be a death certificate. She's 68 years old, owns this building and 2 others, and has been more patient with me than I deserve. Benjamin, I'm sorry to bother you, but we need to discuss the rent situation. I invite her in because standing in the doorway feels too much like a confession. She sits on my couch, the same couch where I've been sleeping for the past week because my bedroom feels too much like a tomb. The eviction notice expires tomorrow, she says, pulling papers from the envelope. That's $5,600 in back rent, plus late fees. The total is now $6,100. $6,100. The number sits between us like a judge's gavel. I know you're a good person, Benjamin. You've been here 2 years, never caused problems, always paid on time until recently. But I have my own mortgage, my own bills. The bank doesn't care if my tenants are good people. She's right, of course. Mortgage companies deal in numbers, not stories about gambling addictions and poor choices. I'm working on it. I say, maybe another week or 2. I can't do another week. I'm already 3 months behind on my own payments because of this unit and Mrs. Patterson in 3B, who lost her job last month. Mrs. Rodriguez pulls out more papers. Legal forms with county letterhead and official stamps. Tomorrow at noon, I have to file these with the sheriff's office. Then you'll have 72 hours to vacate. 72 hours. 3 days to pack up 2 years of life and find somewhere else to live with $350 in cash and $28,000 in debt. Mrs. Rodriguez, if I could just, Benjamin. Her voice is gentle but final. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've heard every story, given every extension, made every exception. At some point, being kind to one person means being cruel to everyone else. She stands up and smooths her dress. A woman who's had this conversation before and will have it again. You seem like you're going through something difficult. Whatever it is, I hope you find your way through it. But I can't help you anymore. After she leaves, I sit with the legal papers spread across my coffee table. Formal language about tenant obligations and landlord remedies and the orderly process by which people lose their homes. My phone buzzes. Text from Sarah. Emma drew you another picture. A house with a daddy and a little girl. She wants to show you this weekend. I delete the text without responding. By noon. I've sold my PlayStation 5 to a teenager for $275. He pays in cash from a McDonald's job, counting out bills like they represent weeks of work, which they probably do. Thanks, man. I've been saving for this since Christmas. Christmas, when I still lived in a world where PlayStation consoles mattered and weekend visits with Emma were routine, and the word marker meant something you used to write on whiteboards. With $625 total, I walk to the grocery store and buy food for the first time in 4 days. Ramen noodles, peanut butter, white bread, generic cereal. The kind of groceries you buy when you're counting quarters. The cashier, a woman my age with tired eyes, takes my $20 bill without comment. She's probably seen plenty of people buying desperation food at 2 p.m. on a Thursday. At home, I start packing. Not because I've found a new place, but because the alternative is waiting until sheriff's deputies arrive to help me pack. Everything I own fits into 12 cardboard boxes and 4 garbage bags. 2 years of adult life reduced to what fits in a Honda Civic trunk. By evening, I found a place, Pine Lodge Motel on Route 9. Weekly rates, no credit check, no references required. $180 for 7 days in a room that smells like industrial disinfectant and other people's regrets. The desk clerk barely looks up when I pay cash for the first week. Checkout's at 11. No parties, no guests, no cooking in the room. Room 17 has a single bed, a tiny bathroom, and a view of the parking lot where people come and go at all hours. The carpet has stains that tell. Stories I don't want to hear. I unpack one box, clothes and toiletries, and leave the rest in my car. My phone rings at 8:47 p.m. Frank Morrison from Riverside. Casino. Mr. Harrington? Just checking in on your payment timeline. You mentioned 2 weeks, and we're now at the 10-day mark. 10 days. Has it really been 10 days since I promised him money I don't have? I'm still working on it. I say. Great. What's the plan, specifically? This is where I should explain about the eviction, the motel room, the $625 in cash that represents everything I own. But Frank Morrison works for a casino that's owed $18,900, and my housing situation isn't his problem. Waiting on a big payment from a client. Should come through early next week. Excellent. I'll follow up Monday to confirm receipt. After he hangs up, I lie on the motel bed and stare at water stains on the ceiling. Somewhere across town, Emma is probably getting ready for bed in a house with clean carpet and working appliances and a mother who keeps her promises. Tomorrow I'll start looking for work. Real work, the kind that pays weekly instead of whenever clients feel like it. The kind that comes with pay stubs and direct deposit and the possibility of digging out of this hole one paycheck at a time. But tonight, I just want to sleep in a bed that doesn't feel like quicksand. The neon sign outside my window flickers red and blue, painting shadows that move like memories across the motel room wall. Week 2 at Pine Lodge Motel costs another $180. I pay with money from selling my TV to a pawn shop for $125. The pawnbroker, a guy named Eddie with gold teeth and a Raiders jersey, examined it like he was appraising the hope. Diamond, $50, he said. It's a 55-inch Samsung. I paid $800 for it last year. $50, take it or leave it. I took it. Combined with what I had left, I'm down to $570 cash total. At this rate, I can afford exactly 3 more weeks of motel living before I'm sleeping in my car. The data entry temp job starts Monday. Found it on Craigslist. Immediate opening. No experience necessary. $14 per hour. Weekly pay. The kind of job desperate people take when desperation stops feeling temporary. K-Tech Solutions occupies half a floor in an office building that's seen better decades. Fluorescent lights that buzz like angry insects. Cubicles arranged in rows like a factory farm for information workers. My supervisor is a woman named Janet who looks like she's been here since the Clinton administration. She explains the job in 5 minutes. Insurance claims data gets entered into a computer system that processes it for somebody else somewhere else. Type fast. Type accurate. Don't think too hard about what you're typing, she says. Questions. When do I get paid? Fridays. Direct deposit or paper check? Paper check. She hands me a stack of forms and points to a cubicle that's probably seen 100 other desperate people comment. Go. The work is exactly as mind-numbing as advertised. Claim numbers, policy numbers, damage amounts, all typed into fields that feed into databases I'll never see. 8 hours of this pays $112 before taxes, maybe $90 after. At this rate, paying back $18,900 will take approximately forever during lunch break. I walk to a McDonald's and call Frank Morrison from their parking lot. Mr. Harrington, how are we doing on that payment? Listen, Frank, I need to be honest with you about my situation. Okay, I lost my main contracts. I'm working a temp job now, making $14 an hour. I want to pay you back, but $18,900 is. It's going to take time. Silence on the other end. Then, I appreciate the honesty. Let me see what options we have. He puts me on hold. Music plays while I watch teenagers in McDonald's uniforms take orders from people who have normal problems. Okay, here's what I can do. Payment plan, $400 a month for 60 months. That covers principal plus interest. Sound workable? $400 a month for 5 years. At $14 an hour, that's about a week and a half of work every month just for the casino debt. What if I can't make $400 some months? Then we modify the plan. We're not trying to destroy your life, Benjamin. We're trying to get paid. I agree to the payment plan because the alternative is collections agencies and legal action and complications I can't afford. When I get back to the office, Janet assigns me to a different stack of claims. Motor vehicle accidents instead of property damage. Same numbers in different boxes. The woman in the cubicle next to mine, Cheryl, maybe 55, wedding ring that's lost its shine, leans over during the afternoon. First week, first day. It gets easier. The work, anyway. The rest. She shrugs and goes back to typing at 5 p.m. sharp. I drive back to Pine Lodge Motel. Room 17 feels smaller every day. Like the walls are slowly moving closer together. My phone has 3 missed calls from Sarah and 2 texts. Emma's birthday party is Saturday. 2 p.m. at Chuck E. Cheese. Please come. She specifically asked me to invite you. Said it wouldn't be a real party without Daddy. Emma's birthday. 7 years old, turning 8. When did that happen? I text back. We'll try to make it. Work situation is complicated right now. Ben, it's your daughter's birthday party. Figure it out. She's right. Some things matter more than data entry and debt payments and the slow grind of digging out of holes you dug yourself. That I'll go to the party. Bring a present I can't afford for a daughter who deserves better than what I've become, but at least I'll be there. At least I'll show up. The neon sign outside my window flickers on as darkness settles over the motel parking lot. Red and blue and the promise of another night that feels like borrowed time. Tomorrow, I'll type numbers into boxes for 8 hours and pretend it's enough. To fix everything that's broken, tonight I'll figure out what you buy an 8-year-old with $20 when you used to have a life that made sense. I buy Emma's birthday present at Dollar General. A coloring book with horses and a pack of crayons. Total cost, $4.76. The same amount I used to tip cocktail waitresses at Riverside Casino. Saturday afternoon at Chuck E. Cheese feels like visiting another planet. Kids running between arcade games. Parents making small talk over pizza that tastes like cardboard. And animatronic mice singing songs about friendship and fun. I spot Sarah near the birthday cake table, organizing party favors with the efficiency of someone who's done this before. She sees me walking over and her expression shifts from surprise to concern. Ben, I wasn't sure you'd make it. I said I'd try. You said a lot of things. Before I can respond, Emma appears from the ball pit like a missile with pigtails. Daddy, you came. She hugs my legs with the full-body enthusiasm of someone who still believes in happy endings. I hand her the gift bag from Dollar General. Happy birthday, sweetheart. She opens it immediately, right there in the middle of Chuck E. Cheese chaos. A coloring book and crayons. Thank you, Daddy. Her genuine excitement over a $5 present makes my chest tight. 8 years old and still thrilled by crayons. Still trusting that Daddy's gifts come from love instead of desperation. Want to play some games? I ask. Yes. Come on. She drags me toward the arcade section, past other families who look like they belong here. Fathers who can afford more than dollar store presents. Mothers who don't have to coordinate visitation schedules around work releases and payment plans. Emma shows me how to play whack-a-mole, even though I know how. She explains the rules of skee-ball like I'm the 8-year-old. For 20 minutes, I pretend this is normal. That coming to my daughter's birthday party isn't a privilege I almost lost, that the $15 in tokens I bought doesn't represent half a day's food budget. Daddy, are you sad? The question catches me off guard. We're standing next to a game where you hit buttons to make cartoon frogs jump on lily pads. What makes you ask that? You look different. Like when mommy cries at movies, but you're not watching a movie. Sarah appears beside us with two other mothers I don't recognize. Emma, why don't you show Mrs. Patterson how to play that new dancing game? Emma runs off with the other kids, leaving me alone with Sarah and her mom friends who definitely know something is wrong, but are too polite to ask. Ladies, this is Ben, Emma's father. Ben, this is Jessica and Linda from Emma's class. We exchange handshakes and small talk about how fast kids grow up and how cute the party decorations are. Normal conversation that feels like acting. After they drift away, Sarah and I stand by the prize counter watching Emma try to decide between a plastic spider ring and a bouncy ball. She really wanted you here, Sarah says. I'm here. Barely. When's the last time you called her? I try to remember. Time gets fuzzy when you're working 8-hour shifts and living in motel rooms and counting quarters for laundry money. Work has been, stop. Just stop with the work excuses. Her voice stays low, but the words hit hard. I don't know what's happening with you, but Emma notices everything. She asks why Daddy doesn't live in a house anymore. She asks why you look tired all the time. She asks if she did something wrong. That last part hits like a punch to the stomach. She didn't do anything wrong. I know that. You know that. But she's 8 years old, Ben. When the most important man in her life disappears for weeks at a time, she thinks it's her fault. Emma runs back with her prize, a plastic bracelet that probably cost 30 cents to manufacture. Look, Daddy. It changes colors. That's beautiful, sweetheart. The party winds down with cake and singing and parents gathering presents and kids crashing from sugar highs. I help Sarah load everything into her Camry while Emma shows her new bracelet to anyone who'll look. Ben, Sarah says as I'm about to leave. Whatever is going on with you, fix it. For her. I drive back to Pine Lodge Motel thinking about 8-year-olds who think they caused their fathers to disappear. About plastic bracelets that change colors and coloring books that cost less than coffee used to in room 17. I count my remaining money, $523. Enough for 2 more weeks of motel rent if I don't buy food. Or 1 more week if I want to eat. The math still doesn't add up, but Emma has a birthday present from Daddy. And for 1 afternoon at Chuck E. Cheese, I remembered what it felt like to be someone worth. Hugging. Tomorrow I'll type insurance. Claims for 8 hours and pretend $112 a day is enough to rebuild a life. Tonight I'll fall asleep thinking about bracelet that change colors and daughters who still believe their daddies can fix anything. Moving. Day arrives on a Tuesday. Not because I found a new place, but because I can't afford another week at Pine Lodge Motel. I pack everything that matters into my Honda Civic. Clothes, toiletries, laptop charger, and the few documents that prove I exist. The rest, books, kitchen stuff, the framed photo of Emma at the zoo, gets left behind. The motel clerk barely looks up when I turn in the key. Checkout's at 11. Housekeeping needs the room clean. Clean. Like someone can sanitize away the smell of desperation and start fresh for the next person whose life fell apart. I drive to a McDonald's parking lot and use their Wi-Fi to search for studio apartments under $800. The list is short and depressing. Basement units with no windows. Efficiency apartments in neighborhoods where sirens are background music. Places that require first month, last month. And security deposit I don't have. With $200 in cash and a part-time temp job, I'm not exactly landlord material. My phone rings. Frank Morrison from Riverside Casino. Benjamin, just checking in on your first payment. The $400 is due today. $400. 2.5 weeks of work after taxes. Money I was supposed to have by now if I hadn't spent the last 3 days figuring out where to sleep. Frank, I need another week. The payment plan just started, and no problem. Life happens. Let's make it next Tuesday. Sound good? His understanding makes everything worse. I'd rather he was angry, threatening, something that matched how I feel about myself. Yeah, next Tuesday. After he hangs up, I sit in the McDonald's parking lot watching normal people buy normal lunches with normal money they earned at normal jobs at 2 p.m. I drive to a storage facility on the outskirts of town. Public storage, where people keep Christmas decorations and old furniture and pieces of lives that don't fit anymore. The smallest unit costs $89 a month. I pay for 2 months up front and move my remaining boxes inside a metal room that's 6 feet by 10 feet. 2 years of adult life reduced to 60 square feet of climate-controlled space. The BY evening. I'm living in my car. The Honda Civic has 180,000 miles and a backseat that almost reclines flat if you remove the headrests. Not comfortable, but warmer than sleeping outside. I park behind a 24-hour Walmart where security guards don't bother people who keep to themselves. The parking lot has ambient light and bathrooms that stay open all night. This is temporary. A bridge between the motel and whatever comes next. Maybe a week, maybe 2, just until I save enough for a real security deposit. Day 3 of car living. I discover the YMCA offers shower privileges for $10 a day. The locker room has soap dispensers and towels and mirrors that don't lie about what I'm becoming. The man using the locker next to mine, maybe 60. Wearing work clothes that smell like motor oil, nods without curiosity. He's probably seen plenty of people like me, using the Y for basic hygiene between jobs or homes or hope. New in town. He asks, just temporary housing situation. Been there. He doesn't ask for details, doesn't offer advice. Just acceptance that sometimes people shower at the Y for reasons they don't need to explain. At work, I type insurance claims and pretend everything is normal. Janet assigns me to auto accident reports now, fender, benders, and rear-end collisions. And the endless paperwork of people whose worst day is someone else's data entry. Cheryl in the next cubicle brings me coffee sometimes. Gas station coffee in styrofoam cups, but it tastes like kindness. You doing okay? She asks on Thursday. You look tired. Just adjusting to the new schedule. She nods like she understands code for my life is falling apart, but I can't talk about it. Friday payday brings $356 after taxes. Enough for Frank Morrison's payment plus 2 weeks of Y showers and gas money and food that doesn't require cooking. I drive to Riverside Casino to deliver the payment in person. The parking lot looks the same. Cars arranged in neat rows. People walking in with hope and walking out with receipts. Frank Morrison's office is in the administrative wing, past the poker room where this all started. He's younger than his voice suggested, maybe 35, with the patient demeanor of someone who collects money from people who don't have it. Benjamin, good to see you in person. He takes my envelope of cash without counting it. How are you settling into the payment plan? It's manageable. Good. That's what we want to hear. Same time next month. Same time next month. 59 more months of this, if nothing else goes wrong. Yeah, same time. Driving back to my Walmart parking lot, I pass Sarah's apartment complex. Her silver Camry sits in its usual spot, and I can see lights on in her kitchen window. Emma is probably doing homework at the table where we used to eat Sunday dinners when I was someone who belonged in houses. I park between a pickup truck and a minivan. Lower my seat as far as it goes, and try to sleep while security guards make their rounds and normal people go home to places they can afford. Tomorrow, I'll type more numbers into more boxes and pretend $14 an hour is enough to rebuild what $18,900 destroyed. Tonight I'll dream about daughters who think daddy lives in hotels and apartments with windows and lives that make sense. The Walmart parking lot never gets completely quiet. Cars coming and going, night shift workers. People like me finding temporary solutions to permanent problems. But it's warmer than outside and cheaper than motels, and nobody asks questions about why you're here instead of somewhere else. For now, that's enough. 2 months into living in my car, I find a studio apartment in a neighborhood where front yards are mostly dirt and sirens are background music. $650 a month, first month and security deposit due up front. The landlord, a guy named Rick who owns 3 rental properties and asks no questions, takes cash and hands me keys that feel like lottery tickets. Utilities are your responsibility. Rent's due on the 1st, late fee after the 5th. Don't cause problems, we won't have problems. The apartment is 400 square feet of cracked linoleum and possibilities. Murphy bed that folds into the wall, kitchenette with a 2-burner stove, bathroom the size of a phone booth. After 8 weeks of sleeping in a Honda Civic, it feels like the Ritz-Carlton. I retrieve my boxes from storage and unpack my life into a space barely bigger than the storage unit. The framed photo of Emma goes on the counter next to the microwave. 2 years old in that picture, missing her front teeth, holding a butterfly she caught at the zoo. Now she's 8, and I haven't seen her in 3 weeks. The temp job became permanent. K-Tech Solutions offered me $15 an hour with benefits and the chance to type insurance claims until retirement or madness, whichever comes first. I said yes because $15 beats $14, and because Cheryl promised to show me the good vending machines. Friday payday brings $476 after taxes and health insurance I can't afford to use. Rent takes $650, which leaves me exactly negative $174 for the month. But that's before the casino payment for $100. Utilities, $120, and food, whatever's left. Which is nothing. The math still doesn't add up. But it's closer than it was. I pick up a weekend job at a furniture warehouse. Loading trucks, moving inventory, cash under the table for people who don't ask about availability on Saturday mornings. 12 hours pays $120, enough to bridge the gap between what I earn and what I owe. Sarah texts Tuesday evening. Emma's school play is Thursday at 7. She's playing a tree in the forest scene. She asked if Daddy could come. A tree in the forest scene. I remember being a tree in 2nd grade, standing perfectly still while other kids delivered lines about seasons and growth and the circle of life. I'll try. I text back. Ben, she's been practicing for weeks. She specifically requested that you come. Thursday evening. I sit in the Maple Elementary School auditorium watching 8-year-olds perform a play about environmental conservation. Emma stands perfectly still during her tree scene, arms raised like branches, wearing a brown costume Sarah probably spent hours making. When she spots me in the audience, her tree face breaks into a huge grin. She waves, breaks character completely, and whispers, "Hi, Daddy," loud enough for the whole auditorium to hear. Other parents chuckle. The teacher redirects attention back to the environmental message. But Emma keeps glancing my way, checking to make sure Daddy is really there. After the play, she runs to me still wearing her tree costume. "Did you see me? I was a oak tree. A really old one that helps clean the air. You were the best tree in the whole forest. Can you come to dinner with us? Mommy said we're getting pizza to celebrate." Sarah appears before I can answer. "Emma, remember what we talked about? Daddy might have other plans." "Actually," I say, "pizza sounds great." The 3 of us go to Giovanni's, the family place with red checkered tablecloths and a jukebox that plays songs from when Sarah and I were dating. Emma orders pepperoni and tells me everything about being a tree, how you have to breathe differently, how trees are actually talking to each other through their roots, how the environment is everyone's responsibility. "Did you know a single tree can clean the air for 2 people?" She says. "I didn't know that. I'm going to plant trees when I grow up. A whole forest." Sarah watches this conversation with careful eyes. She knows I can't afford pizza dinner, knows I'm living in a studio apartment in the wrong part of town, knows something fundamental shifted in my life, but doesn't know what. When the check comes, I pay with 20s I was supposed to use for gas money. Worth it to sit at a table with my daughter and pretend we're still a family that does things like celebrate school plays with pizza dinners. "Daddy, can you come to my soccer game on Saturday?" "I'll try, sweetheart. You always say you'll try. Can you just come?" The question hits like Emma intended, direct and impossible to deflect. "Yes, I'll be there." After I drop them off, I drive to my studio apartment and calculate the cost of showing up for my daughter. Pizza dinner, $47. Gas to get to soccer game, $15. Sitting in bleachers watching Emma play midfielder, priceless. Frank Morrison's payment is due Monday. For $100 I don't have for debt I can't escape, but Saturday. I'll sit on aluminum bleachers and cheer for a 8-year-old who plays soccer and plants imaginary forests and still believes her daddy keeps his promises. The math still doesn't add up. But Emma's tree costume hangs in my closet next to work clothes and hope that Emma's soccer game is at 10 a.m. on a field behind Jefferson Elementary. I arrive early and sit in bleachers that are mostly parents with thermoses of coffee and folding chairs that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. The other dads wear polo shirts and running shoes that look like they've never seen actual running. They talk about property taxes and home renovations and weekend plans that don't involve calculating gas money. Emma spots me from the field and waves with both hands, nearly missing the ball completely. Her team, the Purple Butterflies, consists of 8-year-olds who cluster around the ball like it's dispensing candy. "That's my daddy," She tells her teammate loud enough for everyone to hear. Sarah sets up a folding chair next to my bleacher seat. Thanks for coming. She's been talking about it all week. Wouldn't miss it. We watch Emma chase the ball with the enthusiasm of someone who hasn't learned that soccer requires strategy. When the purple butterflies score, she jumps up and down regardless of who actually kicked the goal. Ben, Sarah says during halftime, I need to ask you something. Here it comes. The conversation I've been avoiding for 3 months. Emma wants to invite you to her sleepover birthday party next month. Pizza, movies, 3 of her friends. She's been planning it since the Chuck E. Cheese party. A sleepover birthday party. In Sarah's apartment with its clean carpet and working appliances and space for kids to actually sleep over. That sounds great. It's at my place. Saturday night. Kids sleep over until Sunday morning. Emma specifically wants you to stay too. Like old times. Like old times. When I lived in places with guest rooms and could afford to contribute to pizza parties and sleepover supplies. Sarah, I don't know if she misses you, Ben. Not just weekend visits and soccer games. She misses having a daddy who's part of her regular life. The second half starts before I can respond. Emma scores her first goal of the season, a lucky bounce off her shin that rolls into the net. She runs to the sideline and points directly at me. Did you see that? Did you see my goal? I saw it. Amazing. After the game, she wants ice cream to celebrate. We go to Dairy Queen, and she orders a sundae with extra sprinkles while Sarah and I pretend this is normal family activity instead of carefully managed visitation. Daddy, will you come to my sleepover party? The question comes while she's eating ice cream and not looking at me, like she's afraid of the answer. If your mom says it's okay. She already said yes. You can sleep on the couch like when you used to live with us. Like when I used to live with them. In the house with the mortgage and the 2-car garage and the life that made sense before I decided poker could solve financial problems. That sounds perfect. Sweetheart. Sarah gives me the details later. Saturday, November 15th. For girls total, pizza at 6, movies until they crash. You don't have to stay the whole time if it's too much. I want to stay. And I do want to stay. Want to be the kind of father who shows up for sleepover parties and helps distribute sleeping bags and tells 8-year-olds to quiet down at midnight. The problem is November 15th is the same day Frank Morrison expects his monthly payment. For $100 that's supposed to come from my paycheck, which usually goes toward rent and utilities and the basic mathematics of not being homeless again. But Emma scored her first goal today and wants daddy at her sleepover party. And some things matter more than payment schedules that I'll figure out the money somehow. Pick up extra shifts at the warehouse, sell something else. Tell Frank Morrison that life happens in payments. Sometimes get delayed. Tonight I'll sit in my studio, apartment and count quarters while planning how to be the kind of father who shows up when his daughter asks. Tomorrow I'll type insurance claims and pretend $15 an hour is enough to rebuild the trust one gambled away. But Saturday I watched Emma score a goal and point to the bleachers where daddy was sitting. And for 90 minutes, everything felt like it used to when I was someone who belonged at soccer games. The math still doesn't add up, but Emma believes I keep my promises now. That has to be worth something. The sleepover party is everything 8-year-old girls think parties should be. 4 kids in pajamas eating pizza off paper plates while a movie about talking animals plays on Sarah's TV. Emma introduces me to her friends as my daddy who came all the way from his apartment to be here. All the way from his apartment. 6 miles and 2 different worlds that I help distribute sleeping bags in the living room, while Sarah manages the complex logistics of 4 children who want different pizza toppings and have strong opinions about movie selection. Mr. Ben, says Emma's friend Madison. Emma told us you live by yourself now. Do you get lonely? Kids ask the questions adults are too polite to voice. Sometimes, but I have Emma to visit me. I told them you have your own place because you're independent, Emma adds. Like grown-ups do. Independent. That's what we're calling it.by 10 p.m. The girls are crashing from pizza and sugar. 2 fall asleep during the second movie, and Emma fights sleep like it's stealing something important. Daddy, will you still be here when I wake up? I'll be here. Promise. Promise. She falls asleep holding onto my hand. Sarah and I clean up pizza boxes and juice spills in whispered conversation, trying not to wake for sleeping children. She's been looking forward to this for weeks, Sarah says. You being here, I mean. The party was just an excuse. I know. Ben, can I ask you something? And will you give me a real answer? Here it comes. The conversation we've been avoiding since the day I stopped picking up Emma on time and started making excuses about work projects that didn't exist. Sure. What happened to you? Not the work stuff, not the housing situation. What really happened? I could tell her about Riverside Casino and the markers and the $18,900 I'm paying back at $400 a month for the next 4 years. About sleeping in my car and typing insurance claims and the way gambling. Addiction turns responsible adults into strangers to themselves. But then she'd know exactly how close Emma came to. Having a father who lost everything. I made some bad financial decisions. Got in over my head with debt. What kind of debt? Credit cards mostly. Tried to start a business that didn't work out. The lies come easier now. Practice makes perfect. How bad is it? Bad enough that I had to move somewhere cheaper. But I'm managing it. Payment plan, steady job, things are getting better. She studies my face like she's reading a contract with small print she doesn't trust. Ben, if you're in real trouble, I can help. Not money. I don't have extra money. But Emma doesn't need to know everything. We can figure out visitation that works with whatever situation you're in. Her offer to help makes the lying worse. Sarah still cares about me, still wants to protect Emma from adult problems she can't understand. I'm okay. Really? Are you? Before I can answer, Emma stirs on the couch and mumbles something about butterflies. We both freeze until she settles back into sleep. She loves you unconditionally, Sarah whispers. But kids notice everything. If you're struggling, she knows. And she blames herself. I spend the night on Sarah's couch, listening to 4 8-year-olds breathe in sleep rhythms that sound like safety. The apartment smells like home, coffee and laundry detergent, and the specific scent of places where people belong. At 6 a.m. Emma wakes up and checks to make sure I'm still there. You kept your promise. I told you I would. We make pancakes while her friends sleep. Emma measures flour with the concentration of a scientist, tongue poking out slightly like she does when she's focusing hard. Daddy, do you like your apartment? It's okay. What? Madison's parents got divorced and her daddy moved to an apartment. She says apartments are for sad people. Madison is 8 years old and dispensing wisdom about adult living situations based on her limited experience with family dissolution. Some people choose apartments because they like them, and some people live in apartments while they figure out what comes next. Which one are you? The second one. She nods like this makes perfect sense. So you might move somewhere else later? Maybe. Somewhere closer to me and Mommy. The question hits right in the center of everything I can't promise and everything she wants to hear. We'll see. Sweetheart. By noon, all the sleepover guests have been collected by parents who drive SUVs and talk about soccer practice schedules. Emma hugs me goodbye like I'm leaving for a long trip instead of driving 6 miles to a studio apartment. Thank you for coming to my party. Thank you for inviting me. On the drive home, I stop at an ATM to check my account balance. $127. Frank Morrison's payment was due yesterday, and I spent the money on pizza and gas and the basic cost of showing up for my daughter. My phone has 2 missed calls from Riverside Casino. Frank Morrison being patient while I figure out how to be a father and a debtor simultaneously. I call him from my apartment. Benjamin. Was wondering when I'd hear from you. Payment was due yesterday. I know. I can get it to you by Wednesday. Wednesday works. Everything okay? Just a scheduling conflict. No problem. These things happen. Wednesday it is. After he hangs up, I count the money in my wallet. $83 in cash plus the $127 in checking. Not enough for $400, but enough to buy groceries and gas until my next paycheck. That I'll figure out Frank Morrison's payment the same way I figure out everything else. One problem at a time. One day at a time. One choice at a time between being the father Emma deserves and the debtor the casino expects. Saturday night. Emma called me independent for living in my own apartment. Sunday morning, she asked if I kept my promises. The math still doesn't add up, but Emma fell asleep holding my hand. And for 8 hours I remembered what it felt like to be someone who belonged somewhere. That has to count for something. 6 months later. I'm sitting in my studio apartment on a Tuesday evening, updating my budget spreadsheet. The same apartment, but it feels different now. Less like a place I ended up and more like a place I chose. Emma's latest school picture sits next to my laptop. 9 years old now, missing different teeth, wearing a green dress Sarah picked out for picture day. She's in 3rd grade. plays center midfielder on her soccer team, and can beat me at Uno 3 games out of 5 that the casino debt is down to $11,200. 18 monthly payments of $400, plus extra money when I pick up overtime at the warehouse. Frank Morrison and I have developed a professional relationship. He calls me Benjamin. I call him Frank, and we both pretend this is normal business between normal people. How we doing this month? He asks during our monthly check-ins. Good. Same time next month. Same time next month. 57 payments to go. The temp job became permanent, became a promotion. I'm a data supervisor now, making $18 an hour to train other people to type insurance claims. Cheryl still brings me coffee, but now it's good coffee from the place down the street. You're looking better, she said last week. Less like someone running on borrowed time. She's right. I sleep better now, eat regular meals, have conversations that don't require mental calculation about what I can afford to say. Sarah and I have developed something that works. Emma spends every other weekend with me, plus Wednesday dinners and whatever school events fit my schedule. Not the every weekend arrangement we had before, but honest and sustainable. She talks about you differently now, Sarah told me last month. More like you're actually here instead of just visiting. Emma's sleepover birthday party last month happened at my apartment. For girls in sleeping bags on my living room floor, pizza from the place that delivers, movies on my laptop. Not as fancy as Sarah's setup, but Emma insisted it was perfect because Daddy planned everything himself. I still drive past Riverside Casino, sometimes on my way to the warehouse job. The parking lot looks the same, cars arranged in neat rows, people walking in with hope and walking out with receipts. I recognize the building, but not the person who used to park there. Tonight, I'm planning Emma's spring break visit. A week at my apartment, just the two of us. We'll go to the zoo, see movies, eat too much ice cream, and she'll sleep in the Murphy bed while I take the couch. Daddy, she asked last weekend, do you ever wish things were different? We were at the park, feeding ducks with bread we brought from home. Different how? Like if you and Mommy still lived together and you had a big house. And I had my own room at your place too. It's the kind of question that requires careful navigation between truth and hope. Sometimes I think about that, but I like the way things are now too. Your mom and I make better friends than we did when we lived together. And you get 2 homes instead of 1. 2 small homes. 2 homes that are exactly the right size for the people who live in them. She thought about this while throwing bread to ducks who looked like they'd heard better. Promises. I like your apartment, she finally said. It smells like coffee, and it's quiet, and you have time to help me with homework. Time to help with homework. 6 months ago, I was sleeping in my car and lying about work deadlines. Now I'm someone who has time for long division and spelling practice. The budget spreadsheet shows progress in small increments. Debt decreasing, savings increasing. The slow mathematics of building something sustainable from the wreckage of something impossible. My phone buzzes with a text from Emma. Good night. Daddy, see you Wednesday for dinner. Love you more than all the stars. More than all the stars. Our old phrase from when she was smaller. And I was someone who lived in houses and kept promises, without having to think about it. Did I close the laptop and get ready for bed in an apartment that costs $650 a month and feels like home? Tomorrow I'll supervise data entry and pretend $18 an hour is enough to rebuild a life from scratch. Tonight I'll fall asleep thinking about 9-year-olds who think apartments can be perfect and fathers who learned to show up not because it's easy, but because it matters. The math finally adds up, not perfectly, not easily, but honestly. 1 payment at a time, 1 visit at a time, 1 promise kept at a time. I in my wallet, behind my driver's license. I keep the receipt from Emma's last soccer game. $5 for admission, $3 for popcorn we shared while watching her team lose 4-2. She scored once and pointed to the bleachers where Daddy was sitting, right where he said he'd be. Some things are worth more than the money they cost. Some promises are worth more than the debt they create. Some fathers learn to be better by learning to be present, even when presence is the hardest thing they can afford. Emma's school picture smiles from my counter next to coffee I bought with money I earned at a job that doesn't pay enough, but pays on time. It's not the life I planned, but it's the life I chose after I learned the difference between the two. The neon sign outside my window flickers steady and blue, painting shadows that look like progress across the studio apartment wall. The call comes on a Wednesday morning while I'm training Jennifer. The new data entry clerk who reminds me of myself 3 years ago, desperate for steady work, careful with every word, grateful for a job that pays on time. Benjamin Harrington. Yes, this is Detective Sarah Martinez with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. I need to ask you some questions about your gambling activities at Riverside Casino. My coffee turns cold in my hand. Jennifer looks up from her computer screen, sensing something's changed in the office air. What kind of questions? We're investigating irregularities in their marker program. Your name came up in our records. Could you come in this afternoon? Irregularities. My name in records. 3 years of steady payments and honest living. And the past reaches out to grab me anyway. Am I in trouble? Just routine questions, Mr. Harrington. Nothing to worry about if you've been forthcoming about your debts. After I hang up, Jennifer asks if everything's okay. I tell her it's family business and finish her training on processing automobile liability claims. Normal work for normal people who don't have detectives calling about their worst decisions. The sheriff's office smells like strong coffee and institutional disinfectant. Detective Martinez is younger than her voice suggested, maybe 40, with tired eyes that suggest she's seen every variation of human bad judgment. Thank you for coming in. Mr. Harrington, this shouldn't take long. She opens a file that's thicker than I expected. Papers, printouts, what looks like financial records spread across her desk. According to our investigation, Riverside Casino has been operating an illegal credit extension program. Markers issued without proper documentation, interest rates exceeding state limits, collection practices that violate consumer protection laws. I sit quietly, unsure whether I'm supposed to respond. Your marker history shows $18,900 issued on. She checks her notes. October 15th, 2019. Single night, multiple extensions. Total amount significantly beyond your documented income at the time. October 15th, 2019. The night everything changed. The night I thought I understood poker and discovered I understood nothing about myself. We've been paying it back. Every month, for $100. Frank Morrison set up the payment plan. Frank Morrison was terminated 6 months ago for falsifying credit applications. The payment plan you've been honoring was never legally valid. The words hang in the air like smoke. 3 years of payments, $14,400 total, made to a casino that was operating outside the law. What does that mean? It means you may be entitled to a refund. The entire program is being dissolved, all outstanding debts canceled. The casino will be paying restitution to affected customers. Restitution. I try to process what she's telling me. The debt that's defined my life for 3 years, the monthly payments that required extra shifts and careful budgeting and explaining to Emma why some things cost too much, gone. How much restitution? Based on your payment history, approximately $14,400, plus interest penalties that bring the total to around $16,000. More money than I've ever had at one time. More than my annual rent. More than my car is worth. More than the total of every possession I owned when I was sleeping in parking lots. There is one more thing, Detective Martinez says. The district attorney is considering charges against casino management. We may need you to testify about the circumstances of your marker issuance. Testify. In court, under oath. Telling a room full of strangers about the night, I lost $18,900 on borrowed money while my daughter waited for a breakfast visit that never came. What would I have to say? Just the truth. How the markers were presented, what information they requested, whether you understood the terms. The truth. 3 years ago, I would have lied reflexively, told any story that made me look better. Now I understand that the truth is simpler and more reliable than fiction. Okay. She hands me a business card and a packet of paperwork. The restitution process takes about 6 months. You'll receive a check by mail, along with a formal apology from the casino's board of directors. I drive home thinking about phone calls I need to make. Emma first. She's 11 now, in 5th grade, old enough to understand that sometimes adults make mistakes that take years to fix. Sarah next, to tell her that the monthly payment schedule that shaped our co-parenting arrangements is about to change. Frank Morrison, maybe, though Detective Martinez said he no longer works for the casino. 3 years of monthly conversations with a man who was, apparently, operating outside legal boundaries the entire time. That evening, I call Emma during her homework time. Daddy, guess what happened at school today? Tell me. She launches into a story about a science project involving plants and different types of soil. Her enthusiasm for seedlings and growth charts fills my studio apartment with the sound of someone who believes in tomorrow. Emma, I have some news. Remember how Daddy has to make that payment every month? The one that sometimes makes things tight. The debt payment. She knows about the debt payment. Not the details, but the reality that Daddy owes money and pays it back reliably. It's been part of her understanding of adult life. Well, it turns out the people I owe money to made some mistakes. Legal mistakes. So I don't have to pay anymore. Is that good? Yes, sweetheart. It's very good. It means we can do more things together. Maybe plan that camping trip we talked about. The one with the real tent and the lake. That one. After we hang up, I sit with my laptop and open the budget spreadsheet I've maintained for 3 years. The same spreadsheet where I tracked every dollar, calculated every payment, planned every purchase around the mathematics of debt repayment. Now I delete the line item that said casino payment for $100. The number at the bottom, total monthly surplus, jumps from $127 to $527. Breathing room. I haven't had since before I knew what a casino marker was. My phone buzzes with a text from Sarah. Emma says you have good news about money stuff. Everything okay? I call her instead of texting back. Ben? Emma said something about your debt being canceled. Long story, but yes. Legal issues with the casino. I should get most of my payments back, plus the remaining debt is forgiven. That's wow. That's incredible. Are you okay? I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. What will you do with the money? It's a fair question. $16,000 could disappear quickly if I'm not careful. Could get lost in lifestyle inflation or poor decisions or the same kind of thinking that created the debt in the first place. Some for Emma. College savings, better apartment maybe. Some for emergencies. Most of it just security. Knowing I can handle whatever comes next without borrowing or scrambling or making promises I can't keep. You sound different when you talk about money now. Different how? Like it's a tool instead of a problem. She's right. 3 years of living within tight constraints, of calculating every purchase, of understanding exactly what things cost and what I can afford. It changed how I think about money. Made it smaller and more manageable that we talk for another 10 minutes about. Emma's school schedule and weekend plans and the normal logistics of co-parenting that used to be complicated. By payment deadlines and careful budgeting. After I hang up, I walk to my kitchen counter where Emma's latest school photo sits next to my coffee maker. 11 years old now, wearing braces and a smile that suggests she's figured out some important things about being happy. Behind her photo, I keep the receipt from our last movie together. $23 for tickets and popcorn, money I spent without calculating its impact on next month's rent. 3 years ago, I thought $18,900 was the end of the world. Now I understand it was just the end of one way of living and the beginning of another. Tomorrow, I'll train Jennifer on processing complex claims and pretend that supervising data entry is a career instead of a recovery program. Tonight, I'll fall asleep in a studio apartment that costs $650 a month and feels like home, knowing that next month's $400 payment will stay in my account for the first time in 3 years. The math finally adds up to more than I started with. Not because I got lucky, but because I learned to count different things, promises kept, visits attended, days lived without lying about where the money went. Emma still loves me more than all the stars, but now I love myself enough to believe I deserve it.